Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a guy who might not be
a big dumb dipshit.
Paisano, head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, go! Guys.
Coach, how you doing, man?
Good. How about you guys?
Good. Hey, so as we were trying to fill time there, as we were connecting with you, we had to relive the entire season that you were getting talked about all year. And all you did was continue to win games, win games, win games. And all anybody wanted to talk about is this guy a guy that can lead a team? And then whenever your team starts winning, now everybody's saying, what does this guy even do? It's like a head coach. You get next to no credit for anything. Do you let that into your world? Have you let that into your world? How are you framing everything at this standpoint? Because 2 Super Bowls in your first 4 seasons, historic shit, brother. Yeah. You're doing great. You're doing great, Coach.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, guys. You know, you try not to let outside noise in and listen. Obviously, you got to hear some of it when you go through the media circuit and everything like that. But you know, I find it a moment where I can kind of connect with the guys that are going through things, right? You know, going through criticism, going through things like that. So I really look at it as a positive in that aspect that, you know, I can relate with guys that are going through some of their own things that they go through.
Okay, so let's talk about that. And I'm sure the boys don't mind, you know, sharing that moment with you. Quarterback Jalen Hurts, he's talked about a lot. Everything he does. He looks too cool. He acts too cool. He sounds too cool. He's had too much success in his life. He has haters for those reasons. Then people started questioning his arm. He can't break down a defense. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's coming off his best game of the season, I think, in the NFC Championship. How do you feel about Jalen Hurts being your team's leader? And how do you feel about the mentality of Jalen going into another Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think Jalen and I go through a lot of the same things in that aspect, which we can relate with each other on that. All I know is all he does is win, and he puts us in positions to win. He's selfless. He doesn't really care how we win, and you know, just goes about his business every day. And so I don't think that's talked about enough about how well he's done as far as just leading the football team, playing quarterbacks more than the stats that show up on the paper at the end of the game, right? It's getting you in and out of plays. It's taking care of the football. It's making the right throws and the right reads, and then knowing the right time to run. But he's just been in complete control and comes to work every day, unfazed by anything. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. I said what I said about him at the after the post game last time on the podium there. You know, I just think he's a stud and wouldn't want anybody else leading this football team.
He wins all the time. He also has to deal with another offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore this particular season. Kelly Moe, if you go back to whenever he was at Dallas, he was blamed as a guy who's a quarterback who wants to run up the numbers and throw the ball all over the place. This year, you guys get maybe the greatest free agent signing in the history of the NFL with Saquon Barkley. You have the best offensive line in the league, and he has been very comfortable relying on that, even though it got really loud. How has it been watching Kellen Moore work? How has it been knowing that your team is a run first, even though you have the ability to throw offense in 2025, which is very abnormal?
Yeah, I think obviously hats off to Kellen to be able to adapt, and our coaches being able to adapt to whatever we need to do to win. Again, we don't get enamored by what everyone else thinks it should look like. Our job as coaches, our job as players is to win football games. And so, yeah, I really admire how Kellen has called the games and how he's led the offense. He's done a great job. And again, this is why you block out things that you can't control. Because at the end of the day, all our job is to win. If we throw it 50 times and run it once, great. If we if we run it, vice versa, whatever, run it 50 times and pass it once, we don't care. As long as we are doing the things we need to do to win, and that again, I know a lot of people have an opinion after games and this and that, but that's not our job to listen to that. Our job is to make sure we're doing everything we can do to put this team in a position to win football games.
You guys are a run-first team. The stats say you have like 700 and some rushing attempts, 500 and some passing attempts, but you have 2 absolute star wide receivers. They were the ones that dumped the Gatorade on you. Devontae and AJ were the ones doing the bath. There was sometimes during the season, which is going to happen, I think, especially with a team that you're leading, where they were trying to drive a wedge maybe. Like, hey, what do we have these stars for if we're not going to throw the ball to them? This is 2025 and we're running the ball. Them being the ones to do that, I think, was a big message. How have you communicated with your team this year, with those guys in particular, knowing that they're going to have to make a huge play in a huge moment regardless?
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I really am close with Devontae and AJ, and I think it's my past of coaching and playing wide receiver. I always take a liking to those guys that are out there on the perimeter, and for them, and I said that to them, for those guys to be the ones that dumped the Gatorade on me at the end of the game, that meant a lot because of the relationship I have with those two guys, yeah, they're studs, and how selfless they've been throughout the entire season, because they know they can take over games, and Jalen knows he can take over a game, and Saquon obviously can take over a game, and this is the way we've won, and the way games have played out, and if you watch the tape, when you watch the tape, right, you're seeing some of those Saquon runs. Like, I don't know, I saw some stat about Saquon having 7 runs over 60 yards, which is some sort of record. Well, that doesn't happen unless you get blocks downfield from the wide receivers, right? It gets past the first level with the offensive line and the tight ends and Jalen holding the backside. But those big ones turn into even bigger ones when those receivers are blocking down the field or running off down the field to run their man out of there.
Everybody's bought in. Maybe this guy isn't
a big dumb dipshit.
Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. Go ahead, AJ.
Coach, you guys brought in Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator this year, and your defense is, like you said, when you watch the tape of these guys, it's fun to watch them attack the football and seem to be such disciplined tacklers and just a great defense at all three levels. What kind of confidence, I guess, has Vic Fangio brought to you and the rest of that team?
Yeah, a ton of confidence, just his experience. He's been an experienced coordinator in this NFL, a successful coordinator in the NFL for a long time, decades, not years, decades. And so you have, that's so comforting, on my end. And he just does a great job of calling the game, leading the defense. Can't say enough good things about him. And I think that exactly what you said. The first couple of things you said is I'm happy you talked about the tackling first, because I think we can get so enamored with, oh, look at this scheme and look at that scheme and look how this happens here. But at the end of the day, the truths of football, from when we played as little kids to high school to college to professional level, the truths of football is, did you tackle better than the other team? Did you block the struck better than the other team? Did you take away the football better than the other team? Did you protect the ball better than the other team? Did you catch the ball better than the other team? And did you block better on the offensive side than the other team? Like, that's where the big plays happen. That's where the explosive things happen that are set up by the fundamentals of the talented players that are playing the game.
What did Coach Sirianni's dad say was the most important part of a team?
O-line, D-line, Howie.
So we talk about your O-line and your run game. Your D-line, I mean, obviously you got dogs across the board. This Jalen Carter guy, he might be superhuman. They're talking like 98% of the snaps, and I know the rest of the group is great. Can you talk about that front and how important that is to the rest of the team?
Yeah, like you said right there, you got to be in great. You guys know you got to be in great shape to play that percentage of plays. There's not a lot of defensive linemen that are playing that percentage of plays, and because the coaches will take them out if they feel like they're gassed a little bit to put them in. So we all see the film of what Jalen Carter can do, right, and all the things that he's shown. This is why we're talking about him right now. But the off the field things that he's worked so hard on to be in great, weighing what he's supposed to weigh, being in great shape, practicing his butt off, working on the fundamentals. I mean, you talk about a guy who knows how to take away the football. He's got a knack for taking away the football. And again, some of the plays that you're seeing is him defeating blocks, getting off blocks, and then being able to take away a football. The way we kind of see. DBs take it away. The way, to be quite honest with you, is how he kind of comes after the ball. So can't say enough about Jalen and his work ethic to put himself in this position where he is playing 98%. And then, the D-line, as you guys know, has to work as one, right? It is such a, those guys have to be one, right? It's a group rush mentality. And I think our guys have really embraced, not caring who gets what, group rush the quarterback however we need to make sure we're getting the pressure we need to get, and letting the secondary do their thing in the back end.
Everybody's all in. Maybe he isn't some.
Big dumb dipshit.
Maybe not.
Maybe
Brandon Graham tears his tricep week 12. We saw that you guys opened up the practice window yesterday for him, and obviously you don't want to give any competitive advantage away, but that would be a huge story if he was back for your team. I assume back in the building, active is already a big boost for the boys?
Yeah, he's never really left. He's been here through the whole time, and he's been at every meeting, every practice. In here getting rehab to see if he could put himself in a position to be able to play again if we got to this point. And here we are. We'll see. We'll see. Had a good run yesterday, and we'll see where that goes. I don't know yet, but I know the guys and myself and the coaches are really excited to have him back because he's a great leader and a great teammate. You can't. I don't know if y'all have talked to BG, but you can't have a bad day when you talk to him. He's going to bring everybody up with him, and that's what you want from one of your captains.
Oh yeah, he's all in. Maybe he isn't some big dumb
dipshit.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the case. He did something that was massive for the turn of the season. Connor has a question.
Yeah, Coach. After you won the NFC Championship, a lot of people were pointing back to the beginning of the season and said, "Hey, when this guy shaved his head, everything kind of came together. Maybe he has to do that every single year." Do you feel the same way about that? Was that some sort of kind of ritual for you in order to turn the team around? And did Big Dom shave your head? Is that who kind of put this whole thing together?
If I felt that had anything to do, I'm the last person who's superstitious. And in fact, my superstition is to break everything that. What did I do last week? All right, I'm doing the opposite.
Nice.
And so, if I thought that was something that helped, I would definitely do it. But I don't think that it didn't really. I don't think that had any effect on anything. It's just I didn't. You know what? At that point, Fridays are the days we usually get haircuts here, and I had a busy Friday, and I did what I did.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. Take it off. Mm-hmm. Hey, good shaped head. You got a good shaped head for the future if you end up losing that thing. If that thing becomes a convertible and then you just want to take it all off, I think you're in a good spot, Paisan. Now, obviously, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. Biggest game of the year. You've done it twice now. Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Coach, first and foremost, just keep winning, and you can just shove everything negative people say right back down their fucking throats. So they'll give you respect eventually. But I am curious, is there anything that you can take away from that first Super Bowl? I know, obviously, the rosters are different, but some of the key components are still the same. Is there anything you can take away from the first time you played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl to now that you think will set you up for, success this time around?
That's a good question. And every time you go through a different style of game, you kind of look back and say, hey, what are the things we did well? What are the things we didn't do well? And I'm talking about the stuff off the field. And that, you do that with every game, every time you play. And what can we do better? And so that was definitely a conversation we had 2 years ago, and we got back. And there are some things that we're, without getting into them really, there's some things we're doing differently, based off some schedule things, some travel things. And, because at the end of the day, getting back to it, right, when we got to the playoffs, we talked about what's going to be important for the playoffs. You don't get to the playoffs. I'm talking in-game now. You don't get to the playoffs or get to the Super Bowl and say, okay, here's what we're going to do now. It just doesn't work that way. You do the things you've done well. You try to continue to get better at your fundamentals, your tackling, your ball security, all those things that I mentioned. And you just try to get a little bit better, get little increments of getting better each day to put yourself in a position to succeed on Sunday. And so that's what we're doing. But there are definitely some schedule things that we tweaked and a couple travel things we tweaked as well.
Coach Saban, whenever the coaches would call him before these playoff games, he would say at dinner and on game day, he'd be like, if there was a better way to do things, shouldn't we be doing that every week? Don't you think? Don't you think we should maybe do that at the beginning of the season? Then we kind of have it all. Scheduling, though, itinerary for Super Bowl, vastly different. And dealing with all the bullshit that comes with the Super Bowl. $10,547 average resale ticket price right now. It's going to be a zoo down there, Coach Sirianni. Last question here for you from AJ.
Coach, a little on the lighter side, what have you got your ticket situation all settled? Do you have your family and everyone all on board? This is obviously not your first rodeo, so you understand, but have you gotten that squared away yet?
Yeah, we tried to take care of everything early in the week, and then what I said to the guys, like, again, I'm big, and like if I'm saying something to the guys, then I better be doing it myself. And so early in the week we had to get everything taken care of, and then if you have to do anything past Wednesday, you pass that thing on to your wife. You pass that thing on to your girlfriend. You pass whatever you need on to your mom. You pass it on to the people in this building. All our mindset should be is focused completely on the game. And if I'm telling them that at all times and I'm scurrying around trying to get a ticket for my buddy, then I'm full of shit. So I'm not doing that right now. I've passed all that on, and they're handling it now.
Last question for me, and I know you're very busy. Once again, thank you for the time. You guys are like favorite. You're underdogs in the game by 1.5 points, but America's like pulling for you. This is very abnormal for, I think, Philadelphia Eagles and for a Nick Sirianni-led team. Have you told the boys? Have you talked about it? They're saying, like, the percentage of tickets sold, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Yep. The percentage of bets, Philadelphia. Like, it is – the world's kind of rallying around you right now because you're going against the Chiefs, obviously. Have you talked about that with the boys, and does it feel weird? Because that's never the case for you guys.
Yeah, we haven't talked to them about that, but I know Philly fans travel, and I know they travel well. That it really doesn't matter where we've been all season. We've had so many fans there, so just because it's the Super Bowl, I wasn't expecting anything different. So it's going to be exciting to have our fans there, making sure it's loud in that game for the Chiefs to be able to handle, and so. That doesn't surprise me one bit. As far as about being the favorite, I don't know. We don't care about that. We don't care about that. Sometimes you like being in the underdog, so we'll just pretend we're the underdog.
Well, you are by 1.5 points, but America's pulling hard for you. So good luck. We appreciate you. We'll see you down in New Orleans, Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ladies and gentlemen, a guy who might not be
a big dumb dipshit,
Coach Sirianni.
Yeah, Coach!
He's the man.
Yeah, he is.
The man.
He's the absolute. Every time we said that, his face was over here, just like because he would like to.
Oh yeah.
He would like to say this. I think like I assume he watches Coach Sirianni, and there's some things he's like, oh,
okay.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay, that is not how I feel. Then there's some things you're saying. He's like, thank you, somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody saying it. The guy is a damn good ball coach, and his team's all in around him.